Winter Downs by Jan Edwards. Bunch slid from the saddle and walked toward the trees, but stopped just short as she glimpsed a motionless figure seated between the trunks. "Hey, you there?" She edged forward, wary, ready to go on the defensive. "Hello? Are you all right? Are you—" "Oh, good heavens." A man was slumped in the bole of a split tree. His hands hung loosely along his thighs, legs stretched out before him. His head lolled forward, obscuring what was left of its features. The rear of his skull had been blown away. Smears of dark pinkish brain matter had spattered across the bark immediately behind him, dotted with pale shards of bone. Bunch flexed her fingers against the blood rush tingling through them, and edged forward for a closer look. Though she could not see his face, she knew this was not the corpse of someone unknown. This body had a name. She would have known him anywhere. And she also recognized the Wesley Richards shotgun laying near his feet. It appeared to leave little doubt as to what had caused the massive damage to his skull. She clapped a hand across her mouth to stop her stomach adding more colour to the scene. She had seen a few corpses during her brief stint driving BEF staff cars. Many of the corpses had been far more mutilated than this one, but they had been different. They had lacked identity. This corpse had a face and a name, one Bunch had known all of her life. This body had not been slaughtered by a mindless steel capsule packed with explosives. This corpse had come to be through a deliberate and very personal act of violence. This was Jonathan Frampton. "Oh, Johnny," she whispered, "what in the hell has been going on here?" She crouched to feel for a carotid artery. She knew finding a pulse would be highly unlikely. His flesh was cold in the refrigerating winter wind, unyielding to her touch. The red splattering all around was dulling to brown, telling her that the blood had ceased flowing several hours before. "Bunch?" Her sister Dodo was dismounting, looping the reins of both horses over a fallen tree. "What's going on?" Bunch held out her hand. "Stay there, Dodo, please. You do not need to see this. It's Johnny Frampton." Dodo assumed the quiet control they had both been raised to practice, but the trembling in her hands that she raised to her face was evidence to the contrary. "There may be evidence here," Bunch said, and guided her sister back to her horse. "We shouldn't trample around too much. Ride on home. Telephone for the police. I'll wait here. Somebody should." "Are you certain?" "Oh, I am. Absolutely." She gave Dodo a boost into the saddle and watched her ride out of sight, with only a few words, but a few dozen misgivings. She led her fell pony, Perry, to the far side of the glade, where there was some respite from the wind, and went to sit on the end of the stacked logs. The trees, towering around her, felt not unlike a cathedral, with their whispering sibilants echoing through the surrounding woodland. "It's like a vigil," she thought, and shivered, not entirely through the winter chill. She scrabbled through her inside pocket for her hip flask, raised it toward the corpse. "Godspeed, Johnny," she called, and took a small mouthful, swilling it around her gums, feeling the warmth welling into her throat. He shook the container and pulled a face. It was half empty. Good hour to wait. It would be a long time cold. She swapped the flask for a cigarette case, taking her time, glancing around the clearing, her gaze skating rapidly over the body. She struck a match, cupping her long hands to protect the flame, and once the tobacco tip glowed red, leaned her head back to send the first lungful of smoke upwards into the falling snow. The horse muttered at the waft of match and tobacco smoke, which made her smile. "Yes, Perry, I know," she called. "All the bloody vices. You're starting to sound like Mother." She flicked the spent matchstick in his general direction and drew again on the tailor-made, expelling blue-grey mist at the trees. And she gazed across at the lifeless body. She had a clear view of legs and torso, but his face was obscured, and She was rather glad of that. She didn't relish staring at what remained of it for however long it took help to arrive. She scuffed a half-smoked cigarette beneath her boot, and a metallic glint caught her attention. She bent to retrieve a spent .22 rifle cartridge and held it at eye level. It had a strong cordite odour that cut through the tobacco smoke. It was a fresh firing, no question in her mind. But the Wesley Richards lying at Johnny's feet was a shotgun, which posed a certain query. There was every chance a .22 shell had been ejected from a poacher's rifle, and yet here it was, right in the surface snow, dropped recently. Bunch slipped the cartridge into her pocket and wandered across the stand by Johnny's remains. She rubbed at her arms, chilled now by more than an iced wind. "You would not kill yourself," she said to him. "I don't believe it. I won't believe it." Crouching, she stared long into his bloody face. "What were you thinking, my darling boy? This is not who you are. You talked about taking the cloth. You'd never kill yourself. So what is this about? Oh, damn it to hell, it makes no sense." The image of him placing the Wesley's barrel beneath his chin and pulling the trigger denied all he had ever believed in, and she knew how other people would see it, but she could not and would not believe that Jonathan Frampton would take his own life. Whatever, or whoever, had brought her old friend to this secluded spot, it was surely not to kill himself. Of that she was utterly convinced. Winter Downs is available in paper and Kindle formats. It's the first in the Bunch Courtney Investigate series, and Volume 2, titled In Her Defence, is scheduled for autumn 2018. Both are published by the Penkle Press.